Hello, guys. Alex Fedotoff here, and today we have a very, very interesting guest, David Stellato. And David is a Chief Growth Officer of DFO Global. This company is like nine-figure company, like runs so many different offers, very sophisticated stuff, man. I'm so excited to have you here today, and very excited to learn from you today.
Thanks for having me, Alex. Happy to be here.
We met at a private mastermind with David, and I was asking him so many questions because for me it is like very fascinating. Like DFO has like few different kind of like branches, right? It's like affiliate kind of like stuff, then the physical how the typical structure.
Sure. So DFO at its core, first and foremost, is a performance marketing agency. So everything we do is all about scale and being attributed and measured, right? In addition to being an agency, we have a variety of components to help support third-party businesses as well as our own internal retail business. So the one thing that's unique about us, whereas opposed to most other networks or agencies, they're just a service provider where we actually have skin in the game. We have patented products. We have products that we source and build new brands up from scratch. We've done everything from creation to fulfillment of our own products. We have fulfillment houses in Europe, Asia, North America. We have call centers all over the world as well that handle live agent chat, support email, and messenger. We've even created our own patented SaaS technology that's PCI level 1 compliant, means the highest data encryption security for banking regulations and credit card processing. And all of this, it was an effort to help support and grow our internal product business and scaling internationally. But a nice byproduct of that is we were, where we bumped our heads, where we learned our lessons, we were then able to take those learnings and pass those along to our third-party clients. And so we have people who come to us who have ready-made direct-to-consumer websites who are just looking for traffic on a cost per acquisition basis. But then we also have some unique situations where there's amazing product inventors who have the ability to sell great products, but they don't know anything about marketing. They don't know anything about proper e-commerce. They don't know anything about going international or scaling. And so we can help build an entire strategy for them or even JV partner with them to help do so.
That's awesome. So it's kind of like you function in some certain like markets. You function like in like United States Big Four, you functioning in like all over the world.
We're all over the world. I mean, I'd say our biggest demographic is tier 1 English speaking, but we're very big in Europe and parts of Asia and picking up steam in Latin America as well. The biggest thing is when you have to know the analog side of the business, as I call it, not just the digital. Anyone can, buy media and start passing it a site and getting people to throw in a credit card, but doesn't mean it's optimized properly, right? Like if you're going to be selling into the Netherlands, you're going to want to have an alternative payment method called Ideal. If you're going to be selling into Brazil, you're going to want to have Boleto. But other things you need to understand, what are customs and duties like, or VAT for those countries? If you send something, for example, to Germany, and you don't have a prepaid VAT or have something set up properly there, I guarantee you it's probably going to get stuck in customs. Where other countries, it may slip through. So you need to understand what are the regulatory issues, even around the types of products, certain things with supplements or skincare, you have to have certain things done before you can even sell those into certain countries. And even with electronics, there's certain safety regulations like CE or UL that should be on all products to certify just so you can sell them. So there's a lot of things that the digital marketers of the world, they see a cool product, they can get it on Oberlo or a dropship site and start throwing media at it and optimize pages, but they need to truly understand the offline portion of the business to actually scale it well internationally.
Wow, that's such a good point. I think that's where a lot of people like they might figure out, like, for example, like Facebook ads or Google side, but then like at the end of the day, it's like customer experience, merchant accounts, the support, the logistics, the chargeback ratios, like all of those things that kind of like on the back end that are not as sexy, right? But that can eventually just sabotage your business if it's not done right.
Right. So it's always interesting, especially when working with like third-party media buyers or affiliates who have figured out the marketing side and they can scale an offer, but they try to jump into the advertiser side of it, and it's a completely different setup. I mean, having to deal with all the different offline pieces and elements, it's a whole new awakening. Now, obviously, if you can do it all, there's obviously higher margins and benefits there, and vice versa, right? There's a lot of guys who figured out how to operate great businesses, but they don't know marketing and they don't know how to scale. So being able to combine those powers and work with both sides is probably something that will really come and benefit for most of these people.
That's awesome. So how do you structure, like, I'm very like fascinated by your funnels. Like I see your funnels, like it, like all of the products that you sell, how many products, how many offers you currently run?
Oh, wow. I mean, under the DFO entity, I would say there's probably at least 100, if not more. But I mean, I'd say patented products, we probably have actively selling higher volumes, probably about 50. Um, but there's always, it depends on the time of year. You know, right now we've got certain things that are doing exceptionally well for warmer temperatures, right? You know, devices to help people keep cool, or activities for outside, or even things for, shoe insoles if you're hiking, right?
Mhm.
But those will change seasonally. And then we have all year evergreen products, a lot of our gadgets and gizmos and things like that. So volumes will change as, what are the trends and what are the current needs and even the markets, right? Some things sell well exceptionally now in North America when it's warm, but wouldn't be doing as well in Australia. But flip and, in the colder months here, it's summer there. But the biggest thing understanding wise with the funnels, I mean, we try to make sure that we stick to certain rules, right? When you're looking for a product that does well, I mean, it's got to be something that's, someone can use on a daily basis. It
Mhm.
sells well in multiple quantities. You can price it at a reasonable price point that someone's gonna, an impulse buyer will buy it. Like, so something between $35 to $99. Once you start going over $100 an item, people will think twice. They might have buyer's remorse. So you want to make sure you're keeping and you're finding products in the right range. And even the same thing with sourcing. You don't want to source an overly complex product that's expensive, because then when you have to sell it at a higher price, but then you have to carry a lot more inventory on that. I mean, and depending
Mm.
on your lead times from the manufacturer, unless it's something you can get very quickly, most things, especially with what's happened in COVID, it could take what would normally take 35 to 45 days to get landed in North America could take 60 to 75 days. So you can't scale as much as you want, or you're going to have to carry a lot more of your cash in stock. So these are all things to take into consideration when you're building out your offers.
Hey guys, people have been asking me how we scale to multiple six figures or even seven figures per month without getting shut down on Facebook. And we have a very sophisticated solution for this that I want to share with you, but it's just like too valuable to give away for free. So if you guys want this solution, just book a call with one of my team members and we'll show you exactly what it is and how it works, and we'll see if that's a good fit for you and for your business. So just book a call with my team member. We'll share it with you so you can scale your business to multiple six figures or even seven figures per month without getting shut down on Facebook, without having inconsistency, and with high profitability. So just book a call with my team and I'll see you there. Wow, that's impressive. So $35 to $99, you said the price point typically for your products.
For a single unit, correct. No, but I'd say the ideal goal, obviously, right, with any of these products, you want something that people are going to want more than one of, right? So the shoe is sold example, most people, or if you're my wife, have a million shoes, but most people have more than one pair of shoes. And so when you're buying a shoe insole, you're going to probably want to buy more than one, because you're going to maybe want some for your running shoes, maybe for your business dress shoes, maybe for just your everyday shoe, right? So that's a great product that sells well in multiple quantities. And then, people who are buying these types of things, maybe they, there's other sister products that would have a good upsell, maybe a compression sock, or maybe a knee sleeve, or maybe some kind of foot massage ball, something that would pair well with it that people will naturally take, just like when people are on Amazon, when they see people who bought this product also bought this, and this. You have to think about not just the hero product, but what are the sister products that you can sell? Because that's what's going to allow you to maximize your average order value and be able to give a healthy cost per acquisition to your third-party media buyers.
Do you like kind of like what's your process? Let's say you want to like launch a new product, right? Like, do you kind of like know what categories you want to go in? Like, are these like appliances? Are these like electronics? Are these gadgets? Are these like what type of categories you kind of like go from the start? Maybe you have like short list. Okay, so we are functioning in these categories. These are the gadgets. Or what are the criteria for you guys?
Sure. I mean, our bread and butter is obviously anything gadgets and gizmos related, because that's where we have the most refined history. But I mean, there's a wide variety of different areas we play in. I mean, we have things from cleaning products to personal grooming products to beauty creams. I think you just need to know the type of marketing that works well, who your core demo is. So before even buying something, do some research. Look and see who your audience is or where. And this is the one big thing I tell anyone who's looking to get get started, make sure whatever product you're going into or service, it's something you enjoy. Because if you're trying to dream up or going after something just because you think you're going to make a ton of money selling it, but you don't actually like the product or use it yourself or think of or know people who use it, it's going to be very difficult to expand that. I mean, the big thing I think in e-com that people realize or need to realize if they don't, it's not just about one direct response funnel offer. Offers come and go, right? You'll find a trend, you'll hop on a trend and you'll scale it, and then eventually it'll sunset. And then, yeah, you made a good lot of money doing that. But then after that, the product's done. What do you have left? What you really should focus on is something that you can, scale and turn into a brand, because brands are exitable. So something where you can start with maybe the 1.0 of a product, but as you're getting feedback from customers, you can find out ways to make a better generation version. So roll out the 2.0 or something else that falls in a similar category. So then you have multiple products and eventually you can build out a general brand, traditional catalog cart site where you can remarket people. And then you get LTV involved. So you're maximizing more profitability going back to the well and not having to pay an acquisition cost. So the biggest thing is, you can't have all the answers on day one, but you have to start with something that you like and that you can be passionate about.
That makes so much sense. So was that price point like $35 to $99? What is like your margin on average? Like how much would it cost you? Let's say you're selling $99 product. What is the margin that you'd be looking to source that product, including the shipping, all these costs, in order to have margin for the CPA, for all of the other costs of the business?
Sure. I mean, after all COGS and expenses, you should be looking to land between a 10 to 30% margin, right? And some people, but it really depends on your model too. Some people will break even or even take a slight loss just to get higher acquisition volume because they may have some kind of subscription that they're selling on the back end or that they're going to resell later on, right? So it really depends on your business strategy and your goal. For us, focusing really mainly on straight sale e-commerce and non-subscription, but wanting to obviously be able to go back to the well and go back to those same customers, we want to make sure we're making a decent margin on the first acquisition, but knowing that long term, we're going to be able to remarket and resell them on and get a much higher overall lifetime margin profitability out of them. So, but I would say you want to make sure that at a minimum, you're making at least 10% after all expenses because things can happen, right? Product can get stuck in customs, or you might have a defective product, or you might have some issues with your merchant processing. So you need to have enough wiggle room there that if something goes awry, you can still function and operate.
So I had a conversation with Alex Brown like a few years back, and he gave me these kind of like criteria for also for like product selection and also for the stages of testing of the products. Do you still follow quite like similar procedure, like in terms of like, let's say, so this is stage one, we spend, let's say, $500. We see whether people go from the first stage to the other, whether people add product to the cart. Second stage, like whether people actually buy. And then after that, you kind of like put more effort into improving the funnel, improving the AOV, the conversion rate, kind of like putting all of those things in place. Do you guys still follow the same process?
So we it's modified since then, but it's a similar type thing. So it's a way of fast track testing products and ideas and concepts. And so there's ways you can spend media on testing things and get buyer intent, right? So you can either have it set so someone will go through your ad to your interstitial or your pre-sale to your interstitial to your checkout. And before they go to enter in the credit card information, you could say, sorry, it's out of stock. But you know that the buyer's intent based on how many people you've sent through that whole flow, what the conversion was from step to step to step, if the person's actually interested in that product. And then if that looks good, then you can actually source the product, right? And then when sourcing the product, then you can actually make sales and acquire the customer, collect their data, and then you can smoke test upsells. So once you've gotten them on that initial and they're buying, you might be taking a little bit of loss of sales, but you're seeing that, again, it's reinforcing that people do really like that main product. But now you need to figure out what are the proper upsells, right? Now, someone like us, obviously, we have a copious amounts of products already. So we don't have to smoke test as often because we can put some of our other real products and test them as upsells. If you're going into a brand new vertical or category, a product type, then it may be good before you go and invest a ton of money. The one thing I always recommend for people is definitely carry your own stock. Don't drop ship if you can avoid it, because the problem with drop shipping, especially now in a post or current or hopefully end near times of COVID, there's no guarantee you're going to have your product. I mean, a lot of these big drop shop companies have limited stock and they're having trouble themselves getting them. So if you're going to try and, be reliant on that and you start scaling, the worst thing you can do is figure out an offer on the marketing side, start scaling it, and then you have to stop because you can't get product, right? And that just opens it up for other people to come in and take your lunch from the hard work you did on the marketing. So whenever possible, always carry your own inventory.
For sure, 100%. That makes a lot of sense. In terms of the funnels, because your funnels are very, very sophisticated. So how do you do you have specific templates that you constantly use? Okay, so this is just for this sequence, like the first pre-sale, second pre-sale, then the timer has a lot of affiliate offers have, or a lot of these hyper optimized funnels have, and then the actual order form, and then upsell 1, upsell 2, upsell 3, down sales. Do you typically use the same structure every single time, or do you customize it for every single product?
Great question. So depending on types of products, there's certain formats that are tried and true. And then for new things, we'll test. I mean, we're always testing, right? Anyone who's content with just one thing, you're not doing this game right. It's all about testing. I mean, we have ideas and we think things are going to work, and then we have ideas and we think that might not work, but we don't know unless we actually put a little money behind it and test it. So that it's always test, test, test. Now, that being said, if we're selling a gadget and gizmo and we've sold tons of gadget and gizmos, we have a good idea of what types of formats of pages, what types of content we need to include on there, and what portions, and how to deliver it. And even, if we're selling on a Facebook ad versus a native ad versus driving someone via email, there might be different styles of checkout pages that work well, because we know if someone's going to pull something up on their mobile device, we're going to want one type of format versus somebody who's going to be more likely to pull it up on a tablet or PC, right? And just people consume content differently when they're in different modes. If I went and just watched a YouTube video, I'm going to consume content differently than somebody who just read a long form advertorial off of a native advertising platform, right? Mm-hmm. So we do have unique steps and processes, and we have a in-house conversion rate optimization team that's constantly split testing new methodologies, new ideas, images, FOMO, loading bars, whatever different techniques to help with driving the consumer down the funnel path and getting them to a purchase.
So while conversion optimization, you have the whole team for that.
Correct.
Wow.
It's data analysts and everything from graphic artists to media buyers. It takes a variety of different folks to make these things work and fine tune them like a nice machine.
Wow.
And it's funny because some of the things you see, if you look at it from a glance, they're not always the prettiest, but they convert. So don't always think the most beautiful pages are always the best converting.
So you test something that we talked about briefly. So you guys are not you guys have your own technology that you build these funnels with?
Yeah, we build all the technology that we use for these funnels. So we have a funnel builder called CTR Wow. It's actually free to use for people to sign up and test themselves. So if they want to build out their own content pages, and we've got even a bunch of our own templates we've included in there for people to utilize and take advantage of. And then if there's people looking to do e-commerce transactions, we do have an upgraded package they can buy into and utilizing our content management system.
Oh, okay. So you even have the content management system. So it's like Shopify?
No, so the CRM, it's similar to a Shopify in the sense that it is a e-commerce platform that will accept merchant transactions. The biggest thing to understand is Shopify is built to be a catalog cart site, right? It's meant for people to come buy products that are set up in a traditional methodology. It's not natively built out as a direct-to-consumer shopping experience where you're pushing them from an ad to an advertorial to a one-product-focused interstitial to a multi-discount checkout for that specific product. The more quantities you take, the better deal you get, right? Now, there's people who have, messed with Shopify templates, and there's some interesting plugins that have been developed for upsells, but it's really not the native use of this platform. Our technology, eManage is what it's called, was built specifically for these direct response funnels and helping to drive home and upsell folks to maximize the average order value.
That's awesome. So do you typically use order bombs, something that they're go before customer purchases to maximize the profitability?
We could use bump. So yeah, so it's not uncommon. So for example, if someone's buying a gadget, you can put on the checkout, a 5-year warranty for an additional 10 or whatever dollars. So that's one bump order. Some people use expedited shipping methodologies, but I would recommend that one, if you really are selling something that says expedited shipping, be 100% sure that it's a really expedited shipping, not that it's just helping to say, oh yeah, we'll get this one out. Like it needs to be proven priority, like next day air, because some guys will try and play games with that. So, and you can get yourself in trouble. The bumped offers are definitely something that we've utilized in the past. It helps with obviously maximizing profitability and ease of customer growth. But upsells are also something that's very important. So once you have that initial acquisition, making it simple for people to just click and purchase additional products that match and pair well perfectly with your hero product is important for this process.
In terms of the platforms, like what do you typically use? Like what platforms do you utilize? These guys mostly Facebook, native. Like what's your like number, like 3 platforms?
I'd say Facebook is definitely on the top, but native platforms such as Taboola, Yahoo, Gemini, Outbrain, paid search is obviously a big champion in the media world. So obviously Google, Bing, but it's not just those ones. I think the biggest thing people should realize is you need to cater towards your target market. I mean, I've had a client for a couple of years now where we've gone back and forth with her and we've tested a variety of things and we've had some good success, but her product it's a beauty related product and it focuses on a female older demographic. And again, we did good success, but nothing crazy, maybe 50 sales a day, 100 sales a day. And, that's okay. That's not great for us. We're used to, 1,000 sales a day. But the second we put her product on Pinterest, it skyrocketed. So I would say it's important to test all different platforms and then see what works best for your product and your core demographic.
So in terms of, so the way that would work, right? Let's say someone has like successful e-commerce business, like 7-8 figure range already. So those like people can come to you. Okay, so I have this product. You can like basically share it with your affiliates. So affiliates can now sell the product for the CPA, right? Or how that works? Is that the model?
Well, there's different models, right? So again, if somebody already has a very successful direct to consumer site and they've done the conversion rate optimization and they have the ability, and they're looking to scale, they just need more traffic. That's the simplest, right? They can come to me, they can show me what's working for them already. I can get them set up tests with our affiliates. We may require test budgets for certain things. We ask questions, around lookalike audiences, demo data, obviously get samples of products so we can make some of our own unique images and videos for that to help with selling and trying different angles. That's the quickest and easiest. There's some partners that have been in that situation and they've come to us, we get them signed and set up in a week, and within a week we've got traffic going for them. It's not always that simple. Sometimes it takes a refinement and testing new pre-sale angles, and it could take a month or so and doing different tests. But longer term, bigger partners, who don't have those capabilities, they've worked with our agency team at Amasa to help build out full functioning strategies, even building out on Shopify and other platforms to do some of their brand marketing while also working with us to build out the direct to consumer sites on eManage and CTRL. And again, it's a test process until we can figure out how to crack it. I mean, even with some of our internal offers, if it's a brand new product that we haven't run before and we haven't had any success with before, we could spend $10, $20, $30,000 on media, and it's not burning money. It's paying for an education, right? Because we need to figure out what actually works. And then once you've figured out how to crack that offer, then that money's recouped in no time. And then you're making something pretty scalable and highly profitable.
Your top offers you mentioned like last time could do like 10, 15,000 orders a day. Like
yeah, some of our top offers, I would say I think our best offer to date did 20,000 unique customers in one day, and it had like a 2.5 to 3 unit take rate. That's the top of the iceberg, right? That's in some normal days, right, where it's not a promotional, not a holiday season thing like that. It's not uncommon for offers to do with a couple thousand sales a day. And again, it really depends on the product. But the biggest thing I think people really need to drive home is that you don't want to just focus on one offer. Like the offer is definitely the starting point. The short term is the offer and the product. The long term is the brand. You want to build something that's exitable, because if you're going to go through all this work and effort, you want to make sure on the back end that you're not going to have to just keep redoing it every 6 months to a year.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I think that applies to a lot of like drop shippers. They would sell something, then they will switch the product, they will sell another product, they'll drop it. And it doesn't make any sense, right? Like, because you're not, I mean, you might make some short-term profit, but You're not building something that can be like sold as a business.
No, exactly. I mean, and again, I'm not going to bash dropshipping, as there's been plenty of people who have made a lot of money, and they've exited and they're sitting on a yacht somewhere, relaxing somewhere. So, I mean, but it's an evolved evolution, right? E-com as a whole. And so what I would say is if you have the ability to carry stock, it's just a much better way to operate, because there's definitely some nice things with dropshipping where you don't have to outlay as much cash, but you're running a lot more risks running that way. You know, merchant processors don't typically like drop shippers. A lot of advertising platforms don't like drop shippers because they're concerned about the fragility of the business and the risk they're taking. Where if somebody actually has the cash outlaid, they have the inventory in a warehouse already landed, they see that this is a more stable company that's going to be able to provide their end solution to the customers.
One of the things you mentioned, like when we had a conversation, so there are like 400 people in DFO currently, correct?
Correct.
So how the communication works like between all of these departments? So you mentioned just one of the departments, conversion rate optimization department. There is probably product testing. I don't know, like different media platforms, logistics. Like how the communication works. Like is communication happening like between like team leaders, or like how is that each team has the KPIs that they need to hit? Like how that works?
Sure. So internally as a business, we use OKRs. So it's a system of goal setting, and being able to measure. And so we start them at a top level, company level, from the C-suite down. Then each individual division has their own, and then each individual person has their own. And they don't flow just down, they flow up as well. So things work, I mean, for personal individual growth goals as well as for team and, division goals. And they all kind of intermingle as a part of it. That being said, I mean, we also have internal systems that we use for communication, obviously email, but we have Slack that we use for communicating with specific teams. And then for project management and development work, we use Jira, which is very helpful for us internally. And the business side of things, we also, use NetSuite for our ERP. So that helps with managing all the ins and outs of financials, products, inventories, accounting, etc. So we do have some fairly robust systems in place for managing the overall business. But communication is key. It's paramount. And we also will do town halls from time to time. So everyone in the company is available for an all hands, and it's going over what's going on in the company as a whole. And then it'll even, zoom in on some specific things from time to time. And we do also something called executive brains, which are very interesting, where different team leads and department heads from time to time will do an hour educational session for anyone in the company that wants to attend. So say you want to learn more about media buying, we'll have the head of media buying do an hour session just overall talking about media buying strategies, techniques, new things we're looking to as innovation, just to get themselves rounded out. The following month, it might be something around, fulfillment and logistics. So the more everyone in the company knows about all the different facets of the company, the better we can operate and streamline things.
I mean, what's your background like? So this is very high performance role, right? Like, so did you have like any other like positions like this before, where it's like so many like different moving parts, right? Like in this business, like, I'm thinking like how many different people, like with different teams, like everything should be coordinated, and like so many different offers. Each offer has a KPIs, each offer has a funnel. Like it's incredible. So what was your background before this position?
Sure. I mean, I've always been a digital person. My degree was in e-commerce from DePaul University in Chicago, so it was half computer programming and half business marketing. From there, I went into web development and worked for a web development shop, doing everything from small business restaurants and doctors and lawyers to large hospital healthcare systems. And once I, learned how to build the sites properly, and I learned much better. I was better at the business side than the tech side, although I could code. My friends who were the programmers were much better at it than me. But it worked when working in my career to deal with marketing folks and technology folks, because I could speak the technology language. From there, I got more into search engine optimization, SEO, and M, because I knew how to build the sites, but next was how to market and promote those services. And then I kept my career very focused in the media side of things, focusing on, paid advertising types of, programmatic video, native advertising, traditional SEO and SEM. And then finally, it kind of came full circle here at DFO, where I was selling software as a part of my web development days back in the day, and we now had this SaaS solution that we could license to third parties use that coupled with our paid media services. So the new thing that I really picked up on and learned a lot about was the analog world, about product sourcing and the product side, and how many actual moving pieces there are that people don't realize. Even when you're going to Amazon or any other e-commerce site and you just put in your credit card and click, people don't realize all the moving pieces to get that from that click to their front door.
Oh yeah, that's such a good, like, if you think about it, a lot of things we do, we don't even think how they work, right?
Right.
Cool. So where do you see this kind of like the overall like industry going, like the like performance marketing, like e-commerce, like next 5 years? How it changed like last 5 years, like till like today? So not like looking from this point back, it's like wow, it's like changed. Those things changed so much, and where you see it going moving forward?
Sure. I think COVID kind of caused things to fast forward 5 years further than, it forced people to go into e-com or work on e-com that never were. I have a father in his 70s who can barely use his iPhone, and now he's using things like Instacart and Amazon to order products. And so, the interesting thing there is I think you're just going to continue to see new evolutions. I think with performance marketing per se, it's always been more unique, smaller businesses and brands. But now you're going to see a lot of the bigger guys getting into it. We have clients, for example, with our agency business like Four Sigmatic and Colgate that are working in performance, where, 5-10 years ago, you may not see big players like this working on a performance basis. And I
Wow.
think artificial intelligence is going to be something that heavily skews not just the customer facing side, but I think that the data engine and the science behind everything, even the ad platforms and how people are being served. I'm interested to see how the iOS 14 updates and the restrictions that Apple's now put around Facebook, but what Apple's going to do now. I mean, they're ripe for rolling out their own advertising platform within the next year, right? So, because
Oh,
now
wow.
they have the ability to target all these customers. So it will be interesting to see what comes of that. And then obviously any of the new flavors coming. I mean, TikTok was nothing, it was a thought in someone's mind, not that long ago. Now it's everybody wants to be on TikTok, and then, Pinterest, Snapchat, all of these. So what's going to be the next new platform? Is it going to be video content? Is it going to be just audio content, like some of the newer things out there? So I think you're just going to continue to see how we can customize to customers' user experience and make the shopping experience easier for them, so it's easier for them to buy.
You want to get a free course on scaling your e-commerce business with higher profitability, consistency, and without having banned ad account issues? Just DM me on Instagram. This is my Instagram. It's Alex Fedotoff 3F. Just DM me on Instagram. I'll send you the free course, and also I will send you the access to our private community on Facebook that is exclusive only for people that do at least $30,000 per month or more. We have a lot of 7- and 8-figure sellers there. So you can network, you can mastermind, you can connect with great people. You can have all of your questions answered. This is very exclusive community that I want to give you invitation to, but you have to DM me. So just DM me on Instagram and I'll get you the access to all of those. And let's get back to the video.
How is it like, so from your perspective, right? Like how do you learn? So do you learn from like your colleagues? Do you learn from some, because you're in a position where you probably have to kind of like bring some new ideas, or maybe some of the people on your team to bring new ideas. So where do you guys like take those like new insights? Okay, we should test this, or we should go in this direction. Where that comes from?
Sure. My CEO always says this, he's got the best resources. He's got 400 people that can bring ideas to him. And that's what happens. I mean, our internal team, even in our Slack channels, we have a general, we have random stuff. We have these different categories. When people see something cool or something unique, they drop it in there. And if it's something that we think can take off, we put a little bit more energy and research behind it. We have a research team in-house where if someone sees a good idea or something they think could be an idea, they'll send it to that team to dive in more. I mean, outside of that, I think it's very important to stay in touch with the community, going to the local trade shows, going to meetups, be part of a mastermind. These are all things that help continue to better and enhance your education. I definitely would say my number one source of learning new things is from my colleagues here, because there's always somebody trying and testing something new. But then also my own clients I learn things from, and we teach them things conversely. And other people from the industry, people who may be considered competitors, but there's enough pie to go around for all of us. So we'll share tips and tricks, and I think like even that meetup you and I were at, at in Texas. That was a avenue. I think there, while we were helping to educate people, but we were also learning from different people on topics that we didn't know about, right? So being involved in these types of things is paramount. There's a lot of guys that they want to make a lot of money in e-com and they want to sit in their dungeon or in their penthouse and not go out, but you can leap forward so much faster by just having a 10-minute conversation, a cup of coffee or a cocktail with somebody and test something new you never thought of, but it might have made, instant sense when you heard about it.
100%. So how do you, okay, so let's say you're getting all of these ideas, right? And sometimes you can get like overwhelmed by ideas, especially in a big company, like you have the resources to actually implement any of those ideas if you want to. How do you actually prioritize? Do you have like specific sheet, kind of like what is the importance of this idea? What's the difficulty of implementation? What impact it can make, or how is that like distributed? Is that like on a company base level, like the whole kind of like list of ideas on the company level, or it's kind of like department wise?
Well, again, it gets into the kind of the OKRs, right? So it goes back to what is the company level, but then how does it break down individual pieces? I mean, I think that the two main objectives are, how can we sell, our products to as many happy customers out there? We want them to be happy, right? So we want to sell high quality products to the masses worldwide, things they need, things that they're going to find beneficial, make their lives better. It promotes, saving time, saving money, wellness, better night's sleep, reduction of stress. These are things that are improving the world, right? And so these are the types of things we look for. And then obviously the other side is the business side. What are the things that are going to drive revenue, right? We might find an amazing product that it's great technology, but then to source it may cost us $50 to source. Well, if it costs us $50 to source it, then we're going to have to sell it for 5 times that. And then it's like, okay, well, what's the likelihood of people are going to want to pay 5 times that for something? And so maybe there's something not as sophisticated, but it does the great job and still keeps people happy. That's really it. So I think the biggest thing is you need to be customer focused. What are the things your customers want and what is going to make them happy? And then what are the things that are going to drive long-term revenue and growth for your company, and finding how to marry those two happily.
You mentioned, how is it called? OKRs, like those kind of like OKR, right?
Yep. So objectives, key results.
Okay. Is that like a specific kind of like management consultant like invented this, or is that like from Harvard or?
Hey, I honestly don't remember the origin of it. You can look it up, but it's a fairly wide practice used by a lot of big companies. So some people will just call them key performance indicators, but it's a methodology of setting objectives. What are the key point indicators to get to that? And then what were the measurable results from trying to do that? So it's, we may set for ourselves, 3 major objectives per person. Each one of those objectives may have, 3 to 5 key indicators. And then, were you able to hit them all? I mean, even when I do my OKRs, I may get 5 different objectives and I may only get through 2.5 fully within a 1-month period of time. So then I have to assess and reassess and say, okay, out of all of these on the list, which one of these are still important for us? One other thing I think people need to really do, especially like you're saying, in this world, there's so many tasks, so many things being thrown at them. You have to kind of chunk it up. Early in my career, someone taught me something. It's do now, delegate, do later, or delete, right? So it fits in one of those 4 boxes. So is it something that's so important you should just do it now, get it done, get it out of the way, right? Is it something that's important, but you really don't have the bandwidth, or you're not the best person to do it, so delegate it to one of your team members. Do later, meaning you're the best person to do it, but it's still not as priority. Oh, and then delete. Is this really something that's going to move the needle, or is just something nice enough? And the delete is probably, it's also the easiest and the hardest from time to time, because trying to decide whether something's really worth it or not, you can hem and haw over it, but sometimes you just have to rip the Band-Aid and go.
That's such a good framework. Wow, such a good framework. A lot of great insights. What would be your main piece of advice to entrepreneurs? You see a lot of entrepreneurs. Some entrepreneurs come to you with their offers, want to push them. What would you say? What would be your main piece of advice to these people?
Sure. I mean, for entrepreneurs, I would say, there's the cliche, you just got to hustle, money never sleeps, all that. I mean, you need to sleep, get your rest, be healthy, get your workouts in, get exercise in. You need to take care of yourself. And I've done this, I'm very guilty of this. There's a period of my life where I was pretty much drinking coffee during the morning, drinking water during the day, and then drinking wine or whatever at night to help relax. And it's like, that sounds great on paper, but that's not a longevity plan. So making sure you get outside, you get a bike ride in or go for a jog or run, clear your mind, because it's very easily to get stuck in front of the screen and be trapped there. Remember that you're working to live, not living to work. But that all being said, right, taking care of your personal health is the number one goal. And then your financial health comes from there. As far as whenever inventing a new product, one of the big things I always make sure people do is get your trademarks and get your patents, because the last thing you want to do is get a really great idea, get it going, and you run into cash flow or whatever issues, and then somebody hijacks your idea and runs with it, right? Especially if you're inventing something that's brand new, make sure you get global patents, not just a local patent, because if you get a local patent, that's great. No one can compete with you here, but that doesn't mean somebody can't rip you off and then sell it everywhere else. I think the other big piece is, as you are scaling, make sure to look into going internationally, because especially in the United States, it's very saturated with certain types of products, but you can find that, for example, selling into a market like Germany, there's no one there with that product, and it has a very nice economy where you could scale up pretty robustly. I mean, we've had one client, they have a product that they've done very well with. They know how to buy media themselves. They built out their own funnels, and they've done very well in the United States. But by us taking them international, we were able to double their sales because they were just never in those markets before.
Wow, that's incredible.
And there was no real competition for similar products there, whereas in the US there was.
So how do people get in touch with you, or how do you where would you recommend people, let's say people want to get involved with DFO in some capacity, what options do you have? And where should people go? We'll include the links below this video, guys.
Sure. So, I mean, there's obviously our website, DFO.global. You can reach me directly at david.stellato@dfo.global. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, and on occasion, you can catch me on Clubhouse chatting as well. But I'm also at any of the major industry trade shows from time to time, so make sure we're showing face and catching up there.
Yeah, thank you so much, David. And I mean, we met in person, and you shared so many great insights. A lot of them we already started implementing. So thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for sharing many great insights. That OKR framework, also the framework for do it, delegate it, or delete it. Do it, delegate it, do it later, delete it. Kind of these 4 categories for people who feel overwhelmed, which probably 95% of every. And thank you so much for joining me today, David.
Thanks for having me, Alex. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for watching, guys. If you have any questions, just drop them below. And if David has a chance, maybe he'll help you out. And I'll include all the links below as well. So you might get in touch with DFO if you want to collaborate in any capacity. Maybe you have successful product, you want to scale traditional channels, or you maybe want to be affiliate. You have affiliate where people can sign up as affiliates, right?
Correct. So they can go to DFO, but we also have our affiliate network, Verve Direct, vervedirect.com. You can go there and sign up.
Thank you, David. Thank you, everyone. See you in the next video. Thank you, David.
Thanks, Alex. Cheers, man.